After an initial enthusiasm in the digital social networks have generated a set of concerns in society, especially in relation to their impact on democracy. Recent studies seek to link the use of social media with polarization and right-wing radicalism. On the other hand, studies of social networks have focused on the old model of the issuer. That is, they prioritize the analysis of the messages disseminated by candidates, influencers, or by traditional media. In addition, the unidirectional impact of these messages was prioritized by analyzing user engagement. From another perspective, little attention has been paid to the set of interactions that occur in social networks, that is, to responses, forwards or exchanges. In other words, how social media is building social networks, communicative ties. The present study will focus on interactions, and for that it relies on the analysis of social networks, which allows us to understand the structures that are formed in the interactions that occur between social media such as Facebook and X. These structures can be better understood when analyzing hashtags. Hashtags on Twitter, in truth, are conversations about political issues. Hashtags put different agendas than the agendas of traditional media or governments. In a way, these hashtags are a challenge to the agenda of power, generating a hybrid agenda, where citizens have a significant participation. For this study, we will understand hashtags as discursive coalitions based on Hager and Fisher. These are therefore heterogeneous communicative actors that converge on these platforms to influence or affect a certain political phenomenon. In this case, the electoral phenomenon. To develop the study, we concentrated on the structure of the interactions of the communicative actors, say the tweets, the comments, the forwards with comments. First, the hashtags were selected in the trend and alias service. Second, we excluded trends that were not hashtags. Third, we capture through notice of the messages and actors of these hashtags. Fourth, the databases were cleaned up. Finally, the days before the presidential debate and days after the presidential debate of the elections in Brazil, Chile and Peru were analyzed. For this study, types of data were obtained. First, the number of messages or vertices was obtained. Secondly, the total number of people was obtained. Third, the hashtag number. Fourth, the geodesic distance of the hashtag or cohesion of the network. And fifth, the intensity of the interactions or graph density of the hashtag. This is an example of hashtags collected in a Peruvian election. The study design identifies presidential debates as an independent variable that may have an impact on social media. This is because the debates have a strong thematic component, but also strategic game. Metrics developed by social network analysis were calculated. The geodesic distance, which is the average of the steps or distances that the actors of a network have to travel to communicate with the rest. In other words, at less distance, more cohesion is observed in a network. Network density, on the other hand, is the number of messages according to the total number of participants in a network. The more messages, the more intense the interactions. As for the results, it can be seen in this table that the countries increased the number of messages after the presidential debate. The hashtags of the Chilean elections were the ones that obtained the greatest increase of the countries. This table shows something similar regarding the number of communicative actors participating in the hashtags. You can see that in all three elections there is a significant increase in these participants interacting in X. The largest increase can be observed in Brazil. Regarding the density of the messages, the results show us that in the Peruvian case, there was a greater increase in the intensity of the interaction in the hashtags. In Brazilian elections, there are almost no significant differences in their averages. In contrast, in Chile the intensity of citizen discussion decreases after the presidential debate. In that chart, you can see the cohesion of X's electoral hashtags. We note that after the presidential debate, cohesion increases in Chilean elections, since there is less distance between the participants of the network. On the other hand, in Peruvian and Brazilian elections, the cohesion of hashtags decreases. Como conclusion, podemos observar el debate presidencial tendría un efecto en el incremento de actores comunicativos que participan en los que hashtag. También genera un incremento en el número de mensajes, interactions que se publican en Además, en algunos países, como en el Perú, puede generar un incremento en la de la intensidad de la discusión que se traduce en un mayor intercambio entre los actores comunicativos. Sin embargo, es posible el efecto del debate presidencial no puede generalizarse pues ni en Brasil ni Chile observamos un incremento. Se observa además que el debate presidencial puede generar un incremento en la cohesión de las redes de hashtags, como en Chile. Here en Peru y en Brasil se observa una disminution. We observe, then, that the presidential debates encourage the greater participation of citizens and their involvement in public discussions of hashtags. However, this greater interaction in digital social networks is not necessarily reflected in greater cohesion or density, since there are other factors that can prevent greater interactions within hashtags, such as negativity and partisan use with which they use. As a final thought, we have that the presidential debates can have a positive impact on the debate processes. That is why it is important that the model promoted by the organizers of the debates, whether they are media or electoral authorities, promotes discussion, the exchange of ideas, and the search for consensus, and leave aside designs of debates focused on confrontations and insults, which what they do is promote polarization.